Receiving a letter from a bailiff is never a nice experience, especially the thought of them coming to your home. But what happens if the debt isn't actually yours? Let's look at this and see whether or not a bailiff can take your property to cover someone else's debt. Just to be clear, I don't give financial or legal advice. I'm just making sure that you have access to the information that you need to make informed decisions. If you're contacted by a bailiff, then the first thing you should do is determine for sure if you're dealing with a debt collector or a bailiff. Debt collectors and bailiffs are very different. Whilst they both want to collect your debt, they have very different legal rights. Look closely at the individual or the company name on any letters and perhaps do some digging online to be sure. How to find out if the bailiff is legitimate? If you don't recognize the bailiff's name, then you need to check its legitimacy. Firstly, the letters should have your correct name, address, and information about the debt that you owe. It also needs to notify you at least 7 days in advance of the bailiffs visiting you. Next, it has to be sent to you by a registered bailiff. You can check if the bailiff is registered by visiting the bailiff register. So, can a bailiff take things from your home? While bailiffs can seize possessions from your home in order to secure a debt, they can't just take anything. They can't take pets, and they can't take anything that someone would need to fulfill basic domestic needs, like washing machines, mobile phones, cookers. They also can't take things required to work or to study, providing that the value of the item isn't more than £1,350. Whilst they can take a car, if it's depended upon for work, then they should leave it. If the car is a motability vehicle or has a blue badge, then again it should be left. And crucially, a bailiff can't take anything belonging to anyone who doesn't actually owe the debt. So, as the debt in question today isn't actually yours, they can't take anything belonging to you. With this in mind, if you've received a notice of enforcement informing you that a bailiff intends to visit, then be sure to respond immediately, ideally by phoning, for the swiftest response. Let them know that the debt is not yours, it doesn't belong to you. It can help to have some evidence of this on hand when you give them a call, such as a bank statement or your ID. What should I do if the bailiff does show up at my door? Always keep in mind that if the debt is not legally yours, a bailiff has virtually no power. They cannot force entry into your home or use a locksmith to get through your front door. Though keep in mind that a bailiff is allowed to enter a home through an unlocked door or through windows, so keep your windows and your doors locked. When a bailiff shows up at your door, you can deal with them through a closed door. First, ask them to prove that they are who they say they are by showing a valid form of ID. Once you know their name, then, as previously mentioned, you can look up their credentials using the certified bailiff's register. Once you're sure that they are who they say they are, ask them to show proof of what they think is owed. You can also ask to see a warrant or a writ from a court. If the debt is not owed by you, then these documents will have somebody else's name on them and not yours. Inform the bailiff of this fact and offer to prove who you are by showing your photo ID like a driving license. At this point, most bailiffs will realise the debt isn't yours, and if the debtor doesn't live with you, then they should just leave. If the debtor does live with you, then the bailiff does still have a reason to be there. But remember, the bailiff can still only take things that belong to the person who owes the debt, and even then, none of the essential items that I mentioned earlier. What should I do if a bailiff is trying to take something that belongs to me and not the debtor? On their first visit, they won't take anything straight away. Instead, they'll make an inventory. They'll be working out what they can take, what they can't take, and the rough values of the goods. It's called taking control of your goods. If the debtor is unable to make payments towards the debt, then the bailiff will come back after 7 days and seize the items on the list to sell towards paying off the debt. You are allowed, and in fact, I'd urge you to review the list. Be sure to ask that they remove any items from the list which belong to you or items that you believe they're not allowed to take. Review the list before the bailiff leaves your home to make sure that it's correct. If you or a member of your family is struggling with debt, then there are options available here in the UK. Some are free to use and others include fees, and each will have their own pros and cons. If you or somebody else wants to find out about the debt solutions available, then we've created a really great form that you might be interested in checking out. Click the link below to get started and answer a few multiple choice questions like the total amount of your debt, how many people you owe, your living situation, and we'll connect you with one of our trusted partners so you can find out more and take steps towards improving your financial situation.